Okay, so picture this, August 15th, 1945. For pretty much the entire world, this is it. Peace. The very last day of World War II. But, high above Japan, the war just isn't quite ready to let go. We're about to dive into the story of this final, absolutely brutal air battle that was fought after the war was officially declared over. So, this is the message that crackles over the radio. A message of pure relief, broadcast to American forces all across the Pacific. And for one group of pilots, man, it was the best news they'd ever heard. But here's the crazy part. This declaration of peace would somehow, tragically, trigger one last violent fight.
All right, so let's put ourselves in the cockpit. You've got Lieutenant Howard "Howdy" Harrison. He's leading his squadron of 6 F-6F Hellcats on a fighter sweep near Tokyo. They are armed to the teeth, ready to just unload on an airfield when that message crackles through the static. Mission's off. The war is done. And the pilots, well, you can imagine, they just erupt.
I mean, just try to picture it. Below, you have these American pilots who are just letting it all out. They're hurling their planes into these celebratory loops and victory rolls. They're going home! But way up above them, totally unseen, a group of Japanese fighters is just watching in silence. And for them, this is not a celebration. No, it's something else entirely. So, to really get what happens next, we have to try and get inside the head of that Japanese squadron leader. I mean, his entire world, his war, had just been declared a loss. He's got a choice to make, right then and there.
Yeah, the difference in mindset here is it's night and day. For the Americans, it's pure joy, right? But for the Japanese lieutenant, Yutaka Morioka, the emperor's command to stop fighting, that feels like a national humiliation. He's got this phantom pain in a hand he actually lost fighting American bombers. So for him, this is it. This is one last chance to get some kind of revenge for his nation. And he makes a decision. He's going to ignore the order.
So with that classic battle cry, Morioka just banks his plane and dives. Straight at the celebrating, totally unsuspecting Americans. And his squadron, they follow him. The ceasefire, which was literally just minutes old, is shattered. The final dogfight of World War II has just begun.
All of a sudden, Harrison's radio just screams to life. Tally-ho, Minaret 6 o'clock high, diving. And just like that, the party is over. The celebration is instantly, violently finished. The Americans are caught completely flat-footed. They're forced to dump their extra fuel tanks, get rid of their rockets, and just scramble into a defensive fight for their lives.
You know, in a dogfight, there's a saying, height is life. And the Japanese have a massive 4,000-foot advantage. This lets them dive down with incredible speed and power. The Americans, they're forced to climb up to meet them, which burns precious energy and puts them in this really vulnerable position right from the get-go.
And a huge difference was in the planes themselves. See, the Japanese fighters, they're armed with these absolutely devastating 20mm cannons that can literally tear a plane apart. But their armor is paper thin. Harrison knows his Hellcats are tough. They can really take a punch. So his strategy is simple. Just fill the sky with lead from their 6.50 caliber machine guns and hope that the sheer volume of fire can overcome that initial disadvantage. So the sky just explodes into this chaotic swirl of one-on-one battles. It's an absolute mess of aircraft twisting and turning. But inside that chaos, you start to see these individual stories of incredible skill, sheer desperation, and amazing teamwork begin to unfold. So Lieutenant Harrison, he finds himself locked in this duel, a Japanese Zero just glued to his tail. He's got pretty much one way out, this super high-risk maneuver they called a rope-a-dope. He yanks his plane into this incredibly steep climb, basically daring the faster Japanese plane to overshoot him. For a split second, he's a total sitting duck, but it works. The Zero flies right past him, and Harrison stalls his plane right over the top, diving down onto his now vulnerable enemy. Just brilliant.
And while Harrison is fighting for his life, so is everybody else. He actually has to break off his own attack to go save his wingman, Billy Hobbs. At the same time, Lieutenants Hansen and Proctor are fighting back-to-back like a perfect team, and they take down 3 enemy fighters. But the battle is taking its toll. Ensign Mandelberg's Hellcat is seen just spiraling down in flames, and his partner, Lieutenant Soloff, his plane gets shot to pieces and he's forced to bail out over the ocean.
Okay, so as this frantic battle hits its peak, the two squadron leaders, Harrison and Morioka, they finally meet. And this is going to be the fatal confrontation that decides the outcome of this whole unsanctioned fight.
And then it happens. Morioka comes screaming out of the sky in a perfect ambush. Harrison has absolutely no time to react before these heavy cannon rounds just slam into his Hellcat. The damage is catastrophic. He knows instantly that his fight is over.
And with what he knows are probably his last moments, Harrison's only thought is to save his wingman, Billy Hobbs. He gets on the radio and yells his final command. He's ordering Hobbs to leave him, to just get away and save himself. I mean, that's the ultimate act of a squadron leader.
But Hobbs, he doesn't listen. He can't. He sees his leader's plane get hit again and just explode into a cloud of smoke, and he's blinded by rage. He just turns his plane and guns the throttle straight for Morioka, firing wildly. But his attack, it's all emotion, not tactics, and the bullets just spray harmlessly past the Japanese ace.
And because he's so focused on revenge, Hobbs leaves his own tail completely exposed. It's a fatal mistake. Morioka's wingman dives in and just riddles his Hellcat with bullets. Hobbs manages to bail out, but he's badly wounded, and he actually dies from his injuries while dangling from his parachute. And just like that, Ensign Billy Hobbs becomes the last American combat casualty of World War II.
Slowly, the fight just dissipates. The remaining Japanese pilots turn for home. For the Americans, the chaos is over, and it's replaced by this eerie, heavy silence and the grim task of figuring out who survived.
So Lieutenant Hansen breaks through the clouds, and he's totally alone. He flies back to the carrier, his heart just sinking, believing he's the only one left. But then he spots another battered Hellcat limping home. It's Proctor, and the two men, the only survivors of the original 6, are reunited on the flight deck.
And what about the man who started it all? Well, Yutaka Morioka, he survived the battle. He later made a claim that the Americans had fired their rockets after the surrender was announced, basically giving his own justification for an attack that, violated a direct order from his emperor.
So, on the very day that peace was declared, this one final unsanctioned dogfight claimed 13 lives. 9 Japanese pilots and 4 American pilots were killed in the last official moments of the world's deadliest conflict. Just unbelievable.
And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? Was Morioka's decision some kind of last act of defiant honor for his defeated nation? Or was this entire fight just a needless tragedy? A violent footnote written in blood after the history books should have already been closed? It's a question that really reminds you that the end of a war is rarely as clean as a signature on a piece of paper.